Hello, Nikolai Markovich from Echolake Technologies, echolaketech.com. In this video, this is actually a continuation of the Storefront video series that I have. And in this particular page, the user, the buyer, is actually anonymous. They don't need an account for this page. And this is the business, Joe's A1 business, and these are the different items that he has for sale. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a quick demo walking through this to buy some fruit as an anonymous buyer. And then I'm going to go through the process again, and I'm going to show you how to do it with a one-click, or not quite a one-click, but purchase of these with the saved credit card from another video I did recently. So let's just kind of walk through this. So I've already got some items in the cart here. So we got one banana. Let's go and buy 11 bananas. And this automatically updates. We'll go to checkout. Okay, so in this first walkthrough, I'm going to go and fill out all this information for the credit card. And then afterwards, I'm going to walk through and I'm going to show you, this is the new addition here, where this is actually going to use the user's credit card information that's already saved in the app. Okay, so let's call this guy Bob Buyer at test.com. Bob Buyer. And then again with Stripe, we put in this key sequence of the 4 2s here. This is in the test environment for Stripe. And let's do 221. Like that, and confirm payment. Get this little pop-up, confirm it. So I'll put a link to this video, what you've just seen here, because this is an actual design that I've had available for a little bit. And I'm just going to go over here for a moment, go to the dashboard, and I do a refresh here. And Stripe, this is actually in Stripe. So got Bob the buyer, he bought $21.89 worth of stuff. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back over here, and you can see it's still current user is blank. And let's go and we'll buy some apples this time. We'll buy 10 of those. We'll go to checkout. Okay, so we got the 10 apples and so forth. Now you see all this information is in there. I should actually go and reset all of this information, but I am not going to use this because I'm going to come over here, and I set up this other account the other day in this other video, which I'll again give you a pointer to. And all I have to do is go in with a pre-existing account, log in and pay. And it is going through and doing its thing, and your card was charged $15 successfully, so that looks good. Let's go back over here to Stripe. I'm going to do a refresh. And Stripe is doing its refresh. Okay, Jane Buyer, $15. Excellent, so it worked just as expected. And so basically here we have Jane Buyer's account with pre-existing credit card information. I'm going to come over here, and this is another video that I had recently that shows you how to go and set up this credit card account. So I actually have this person, Jane Buyer. I'm going to come over here to the database. So, okay, Jane Buyer right here. And you can see credit card information from Stripe, customer ID from Stripe. So this was set up in a prior video, and again, I'll link that. Let's go into the design though to see how we set this up. All right. So basically, I just have a simple input for the username and the password, and then a login and pay button. All right, so there are 2 custom states that I needed to use on this, and the reason being is, if you remember that initially when you come to this page, the user's not logged in, they're anonymous, and what we need to do is we actually need to go log the user in. The problem is that the the amount in the cart and the cart information and so forth, that was created in Bubble as an anonymous cart with anonymous information. So what I need to do is I actually need to save some of that information so that after the user gets logged in, I can make some changes and the transaction will work correctly. And I'm just going to bounce over here for a moment to show you the two custom states. So I've got buyer, which is of type user, and this is storefront with no login. So buyer and user, and then total amount is the number. So I'm basically going to keep track of who the user is. Now this is going to be an anonymous user who's got a cart with all the fruit that they've added to the cart. It's going to be the anonymous user will be the owner or the creator of that cart. So I need to keep track of that. And then the number, the total amount spent. Okay, let me come back over here. So what I'm doing here is after I click the button, so I go to the set state, the total amount, and then I'm taking the current user. Again, at this point in the workflow, the current user is the anonymous user, hasn't logged in yet as Jane user, it's anonymous. That anonymous user's cart, and then the total price. So I want to keep that in the total price. Now I could go and write this out into the database. I could set up fields in the database and track it. The problem is that there's going to be a hit from a performance because it goes out to Bubble's servers and so forth. By using it, saving this value, using a custom state, it's going to be local on my machine here, so it's much, much quicker. And similarly on the next step here, so set state for the same storefront with no login, buyer, and then the current user. So I'm basically assigning current user to that buyer. And just to kind of quickly show you how I'm doing this, so element actions, set state, go over here, storefront with no login. So that's the name of this page, storefront no login. That's going to be right at the top of the list. And then I've got all these different custom states, and I just pick one, and then like this. So that's how you set that up. And I have a link to setting up custom states as well, which I will add in the notes below. So I've got these two pieces of information, the buyer and the total price or sum saved away in the custom states. The next thing I need to do is go and log the user in. So it's account, log the user in. So that's all I'm doing in this step. So I log them in, and then I need to make changes to the user. So now at this point, at this step 4, the user is logged in, and the user is, in the example I just used is Jane Buyer at test.com. So we're going to be making a change to her account, and the cart is going to be the storefront with no login buyer's cart. So just if you remember that this is going to be, the buyer is going to be that anonymous buyer. So that anonymous buyer created a cart. And what I need to do is I now need to go and take that anonymous cart, because when Jane Buyer came into this as an anonymous user, she created a cart as an anonymous user. And now what I need to do is, since she's at this point logged in, I need to go and associate that cart to Jane. Okay, so that's what I'm doing in this step here. So cart, and let me just go to the database so you can see, just as a reminder, and again, these are in the other videos, but so cart, so under user, I have cart. And then over here, cart, it's got this information in it. So all I'm doing, again, right here, is now I'm taking the current user, Jane Buyer, and for her cart, I'm going to take, when she was anonymous, that buyer, her Jane Buyer when she was anonymous, her cart ID, and I'm going to assign it to cart here. So that's all I'm doing in this step. All right, and now what I'm doing in this step is, again, I'm taking that storefront with no login, that buyer's cart, okay, so that anonymous buyer's cart, Jane when she was anonymous, and now I'm going to be assigning the user to be the current user. So now it's going to be Jane user instead of the anonymous Jane user, Jane Buyer, sorry. And then the next thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to take that total price. So I'm going to take that which we saved in the custom state back over here. I'm going to take the total amount and I'm going to put it with the total price. Okay, so basically if I go over here to where is cart. Okay, so basically if I didn't do that, this total price field and Jane Buyer test, these would be empty, kind of like these. So when I was doing some earlier testing and so forth, so Jane Buyer wasn't filling in the field, and down here the price wasn't filling into the field. So you need those custom states, these two steps here, to save that information when Jane Buyer is anonymous. And then over here, after logged in, I go and I make those updates to the cart and to the user. The next step is I come over here and now I make the charge to Stripe. So again, I need to go and take the total amount. I need to multiply it by 100. That's just one of the little quirks with how this is set up with a Stripe.js plugin. So I need to use multiply it by 100, and then US dollars, then just a description. These are optional fields here. True, I think the default on this is false. Actually, I'm going to come over here to show you how. So we want to go over here and plug in Stripe.js platform, charge payment to a customer's card right here. So that's what you want to choose. Okay, so we've got some default values in there. So yeah, it does come up as false. You want to go in and change this to true. One thing I noticed that if I left it at false, then it wasn't transacting, and I had to go into my Stripe account, make some manual things and so forth. Just set that up to true, and that seems to process it fine. Let me go. I want to delete that. Okay, so on step 6 here. So current user's customer ID. So at this point, again, we're logged in as Jane Buyer, and we want to take Jane Buyer's customer ID and then the source, the credit card ID. So just back over here in the database under users, Jane Buyer. Okay, so we're basically taking this information here and this information here, and we are assigning it in these fields. So you need to have this set up correctly. And again, I'm going to put a pointer to another video on how I go and do that from the login from the index page I showed you a few moments ago. Then the last thing, I get this show message here just to go and show that the transaction has completed correctly. So element action, show message. And I've only got one alert on this particular page, so Bubble automatically fills in the alert, the element name for me, which is kind of nice, kind of convenient. And let me go over here to show you, let's see, is it in group checkout? There it is, the alert. So this is the alert, and all I do is your card was charged, and then current users, carts, total price, and then the format. So this might be a little bit new to you, so you get these different options. So after I go in here, let me just go and quickly show you current users, cart, and then total price. And then you'll see this little more. Just click on that, formatted as currency. And that's all you need to do. Delete that. Okay, so this is just a nice little alert that that comes up. And let me go back to the workflow. So, and these are again in milliseconds, so kind of this fade in, fade out. It'll show for 2 seconds. And that is basically all you need to do for setting up using an existing customer's credit card that they've already got on file. So you can come into this page as an anonymous user. If you have an account, you just go in, you type in your account information, log in and pay. Bubble already knows who you are and your Stripe information, and it will make the transaction for you. So I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions, please leave me a comment below. If you liked the video, I do appreciate the thumbs up. I have more videos that I'm working on, so if you subscribe to my channel, YouTube will notify you when those come out. And again, I do appreciate you watching till the end. Thank you.